Hello everybody, I'm Maria and welcome or welcome back to my Nook. Today I'm starting another reading vlog and I am both excited and also a little conflicted. Okay, maybe not conflicted about this reading vlog, but rather interested to see how this will go, because I'm going to be picking up a book that has been on my physical TBR for so long and I just really want to get it off my physical TBR, so that's what I'm excited about. But I'm interested to see how it's going to go because I'm not sure if I'm going to like it. The book I'm talking about is The Atlas Paradox by Olivier Blake, and the thing is that I read the first book. This is the sequel in a series, and the first book, The Atlas 6, I read last year in summer. It was it June or July? Something like that. I definitely read The Atlas 6 in summer last year, 2022. I liked it, but the thing is that the book had been so incredibly hyped. I didn't buy it just because of the hype. The concept and the premise and the synopsis of the book really intrigued me, and so that's mainly why I picked it up. But like, the fact that there was so much hype around the book built my expectations really high, and I feel like because I had such high expectations from all that hype, I was disappointed. And I think if I hadn't built my expectations so high from that hype, I would have probably enjoyed the book more than I did. I gave it like 3.75 or 3.8 stars. I think I gave it an outlandish rating, like 3.8 stars. I don't know, but that's just what I thought about it back then. But again, I think I would have enjoyed it more if my expectations wouldn't have been as high as they were from all that hype. But still, I really enjoyed Olivier Blake's writing style, and I thought I initially liked the concept of the book and the idea of the book, and the ending also, among those other things, made me want to continue the series. And the sequel, The Atlas Paradox, actually came out just a few months after I had read The Atlas 6. But as you can see, I have not picked it up since. I bought it immediately when it came out, but it has been sitting on my physical TBR for months. I honestly don't really know what this book is going to be about. I just know that it's the sequel to The Atlas 6 and that it's going to continue the story and like probably start where the book ended. I'm trying to be vague here because I don't want to spoil The Atlas 6 for anybody out there who hasn't read it yet. I think I know and remember a lot of things about The Atlas 6. At least I hope that I remember enough main points of the plot. I probably don't remember all of the details. But then again, I think when an author writes a series, they always have to expect that some readers take months off from that series between reading one book and the next. So they should always try and make the reading experience of a sequel as enjoyable as possible, even if you don't remember all the details from the book that happened before that. At least like in my head. Like, I don't know, but in my opinion, authors would have quite high standards or high expectations of their readers if they thought that every reader has to remember every single detail of a book in order to understand everything in a sequel. So yeah, anyway, I am going to be reading this book, and it's quite long actually, but I'm hoping that I'm going to like it, hopefully even more than the first book. I've heard a few mixed reviews on this book, but I'm still gonna try and jump into it with less bias than I had with the Atlas 6 because of all that hype. So yeah, let's see. I also have the audiobook because I borrowed it from my library via Libby, so that's actually really exciting. The first book, the Atlas 6, was narrated by multiple actors, like voice actors for the multiple characters, so I'm hoping that's going to be the case in this book too, because I really enjoyed that. And anyway, now I talked enough about this book already, and I am going to get to reading now. Hello, I am here to give you a reading update. It's been 4 days. Today is day 5 of this reading vlog, and I know that means it's been a while since I filmed the intro of this. And I know I never even actually gave you like initial thoughts on the Atlas paradox, but I thought I kind of did. Because I told you about this whole being disappointed by the first book in this series, and now like hoping this one won't be such a big disappointment after having put it off forever kind of situation. Those were basically my initial thoughts, right? Also, by the way, don't mind my hair. I'm freshly out of the shower. Anyway, I have a few things to tell you about the Atlas paradox. Or the series. First of all, I want to mention that in my intro clip, I said that I gave the Atlas 6, which is the first book in the series, some outlandish rating, and I do believe I did at first, like 3.8 stars or something, but I checked my Notion page and I have the Atlas 6 rated at a 3.5 stars. So I think I even downgraded the rating for the Atlas 6 like weeks or months after having read it. So there's that. I think at first I rated it a little closer to 4 stars because it was one of the first fantasy books that I read as an adult. Like, you probably know this already, but I was an avid reader as a kid and a young teenager, and then I had this years-long sort of reading slump where I maybe read like half a book per year. And now as an adult, I started reading again in 2022. The first fantasy book I picked up as an adult was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which was a pretty unique fantasy book. And then like Once Upon a Broken Heart, the Atlas 6 were among the very first fantasy books that I picked up again as an adult. So I didn't really have a very good idea yet of what my taste was in fantasy books as an adult. That was kind of the situation, you know? So I was having a bit of a difficult time trying to figure out how to rate the Atlas 6. I think that's where that star rating change came from, and maybe I even rated it a little too highly still with 3.5 stars, because in retrospective maybe it was more of a 3-star. But anyway, The Atlas Paradox. I am on page 109 by now, and I am actually quite enjoying this book, which is rather surprising for me. At first I thought I wouldn't tap this book because I was so disappointed by the first one in the series, and I don't really have high expectations for this book, still don't, because I saw a lot of mixed reviews on this book. But then I kept reading moments where I thought, ooh, this is so good, this is so funny, ooh, I love this sentence, I love this quote or whatever. And at some point I started tabbing, and now I have a pretty good amount of tabs in this already, which I didn't think would happen. But I am actually enjoying this book so far. There was at first this sort of initiation ritual that the main characters in this book had to go through, and it was this simulation that they did, which at first was really interesting, and then it was kind of getting a little bit boring, or like it was dragging a little, you know, because we did one character after the other going through each of their simulations, each of their rituals, and just when it was starting to drag a little, we kind of skipped a bit and something else started happening, so I was really grateful for that. And now other stuff is happening that I don't really think I can talk about because it might spoil the first book. I am enjoying the characters so far, except for one. She's really getting on my nerves right now. But I'm also really enjoying the audiobook narrators, which is probably one reason why I'm enjoying some of the characters so much. Like, without the audiobook narrators, I probably would not enjoy some of the characters as much as I am enjoying them, you know? So yeah, I'm really genuinely enjoying the audiobook so much, so incredibly much. And yeah, I'm actually having a good time with this book so far. So I'm gonna continue and see where this will lead me. I'm still trying not to build my expectations too high so I won't get disappointed in this book, you know? Nico and Tristan, two of the main characters, are like trying some experiments right now to like tickle Tristan's magic or something like that. And I'm definitely curious to see where that is going to go. Hello, it's been a couple of days since I last updated you, but I've made some pretty good reading progress in The Atlas Paradox. I finished part 5 last night. I'm on page 215 now, and I have realized that I haven't even really told you what this book or this series is even about, I think. While I can't really tell you what this book is about because it is the second book in the series, I think I can tell you overall what the series is about. So basically, in this world, the Alexandrian library was never destroyed, and now there is this Alexandrian society that basically takes care of the Alexandrian library, but there's also magic involved, and therefore in this world magic exists, and there are magicians or Medians, that's what they're called in this world. There are even magical universities, so the magic really is very integrated into daily life. Magic is also being used for all sorts of things in the daily lives of people. Like, magic is being used to increase the effectiveness of air conditioning, or I don't know, just stuff like that, you know? I can't really think of another example right now. But that's basically the sort of world these books take place in. And this Alexandrian society chooses 6 Medians from all over the world every, I think, 5 years or 10 years or something. They choose a group of 6 Medians, and these 6 Medians are the best of the best. Like, only the best of the best are chosen to even be invited to potentially study at or with the Alexandrian society. And if they agree, they are allowed or have to actually live at this mansion, this house that is somewhere. I don't even know where, and I don't know much about the house either, which is actually something I kind of dislike about this series. I know that the whole where about this house and the place they're studying at is supposed to be a mystery for the characters too, but still there's just so little us readers get to know about the house these characters spend all their time at. Like, there's always this talk of these rooms and all these places in the house, and I'm like, I have no idea where you're at. Like, I know those rooms exist, but I have no idea about the floor plans of the house, basically, that sort of thing, you know? Kind of bothers me sometimes. But anyway, there's this house of the Alexandrian society, and the 6 Medians that are chosen get to live at this house, and technically have to live at this house for a full year. And in that time, they are allowed to study at the Alexandrian society and like study all the things out of the Alexandrian library, or at least they're allowed to request titles and topics from the Alexandrian library, and then the Alexandrian library chooses whether to give that title to the person that requested it, or like if they request a certain topic, the library chooses which titles to give and which titles to deny, that sort of thing. And at the end of the first year, one of the 6 has to be eliminated, so there will only be 5 left to go into the second year of studying. And in this book, they're currently in their second year of studying, and that's why there was this initiation ritual at the beginning and all that sort of stuff. And now they have to choose a thesis of sorts, basically. That's sort of what the series is about and this book is about. So since I last updated you, we basically saw more of what all the characters choose to study and what they're spending their times with. So for example, Tristan and Nico, 2 of the chosen Medians, are kind of trying to help Tristan figure out his magical powers better and like help him manage them and like be able to use them better and stuff like that. And there's a few alliances changing, and Reina is trying to figure out what the Alexandrian library even is, if it's sentient or something else. And Parisa is trying to figure out what's the matter with Dalton Ellery, who's basically some sort of teacher at the Alexandrian Society. I think, if I remember correctly, he was an initiate at some point and then he just kind of stayed. And Parisa is trying to figure out a few things about him. I'm really enjoying the whole plot line about Libby and what's going on with her. I'm genuinely enjoying so much what Nico and Tristan are up to. It's so funny somehow to me, and I really enjoy their dynamics. I'm also really enjoying that we're getting to see more of Gideon, who's basically Nico's friend, and he knows Libby as well because they studied at the same university before Nico and Libby were chosen for the Alexandrian Society. And I find Gideon very intriguing, and I just like his character, and I think the dynamic between Nico and Gideon is really, I just like them a lot together. And I'm generally liking a lot of the characters in this book. Except for Parisa, honestly, she's getting on my nerves quite a bit in this book. I don't remember if that was the case in the first book already too, but in this book, she's getting on my nerves, and every time her POV comes up, I'm like, not you again. I don't know what this is. I also kind of think that I'm liking some of the characters more solely because of the voice narrator of the audiobook. Like, for example, Tristan's voice narrator, so good. I love his voice narrator so much. And I figured out that Callum's voice narrator is the same narrator that also narrated the Strange the Dreamer duology, which I love those books so much, and I love that narrator so much, and I'm enjoying it so much. And without the audiobook and me liking the narrator so much, I would probably like some of the characters less too. But like, it does something to my brain, you know what I mean? So I'm definitely really enjoying the audiobook, and it absolutely helps understanding what's going on in this book, because I do feel like that this book and the series in general is kind of taking a little more brain power, because Olivia Blake's writing is a little wordy sometimes, a lot of the times actually. But I think I'm quite enjoying this book, possibly even more than the Atlas 6, the first book in this series. And honestly, I feel like this just proves my point further, that I would have enjoyed the Atlas 6 more if there hadn't been all that hype on the internet, or if I hadn't known about it, because that built my expectations so high, I just had to be disappointed. Or like, the chance of getting disappointed is much higher when your expectations are so high, if that makes any sense. But for this book, my expectations are not that high, so I'm enjoying it more. And also, I'm oftentimes even looking forward to picking this book up again when I'm not reading it. Sometimes even when I'm putting it down in the evening, for example, before going to sleep, I'm like, oh, I'm so looking forward to reading this book again tomorrow. And that's something that hasn't really been happening a lot lately. I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'm having trouble lately making myself sit down and pick up a book and start reading, even though once I am reading, I'm enjoying it, I'm enjoying my time, but making myself start reading has been a little hard sometimes lately, and this book makes it a little less difficult, and I really like that. So I am going to continue reading this book. I think I'm a little over halfway through by now. I hope I can finish it in time before my loan for the audiobook expires. Because I think the audiobook for the Atlas Paradox also has the audiobook for the Sacred Hospitality, which is like book 0.5 in this series. It's like a prequel to the Atlas 6. At least according to Goodreads, and I would really like to listen to that as well. I hope I can get to all that. For now, I'm just gonna keep reading, and I'll update you the next time something interesting happens, or maybe when I hit the 300-page mark. Hello. I'm here to give you a rating update on the Atlas Paradox. I am now on page 320. I finished part 7 last night, and stuff is happening. Like, the end of part 7 had me kicking my feet with excitement, let me tell you. So in the last 100-ish pages since I updated you, first of all, I didn't film that much anymore because I've been listening to the audiobook a lot while doing chores and to-dos around my apartment, like doing the dishes, doing the laundry. I didn't film any of that. But I have read a bunch, as you can see, and stuff has been happening. I think I told you about the different things that the different characters are trying to like figure out, and the different things they're trying to figure out. And I think they've been making progress. We have these POV changes. For quite a while, we've basically seen the individual progress of each character and what their goal is or was, or maybe still is, and what they're trying to figure out. And right now, I feel like it's all sort of coming together. Like, for a while there, it was a bit like, okay, so this plot line is happening, and this plot line is happening, and this plot line is happening, you know? But now it's like, okay, so that's why that plot line was happening, because usually authors have a reason for showing us certain POVs and plot lines, even if we don't always get it immediately. But at this point right now, it's really coming together, and we're starting to see how all those POVs and plot lines were important and why they were shown to us, basically. And let me tell you, I am so invested in this. I don't think I was this invested at any point while reading the Atlas 6, but I'm so invested in this. They're kind of, I think, at the edge of solving the main issue of this book, while also slowly figuring out other things that have been mysteries so far. And like, I am so invested, I'm so intrigued, I want to continue reading immediately. Like I said, there was a sort of reveal, or like a progress in the plot at the end of part 7 that had me kicking my feet with excitement. I have like 77 pages of this book left, which, by the way, funny number, I'm now realizing. I am so excited for what's going to happen in the last bits of this book and how it might end and what we are maybe going to find out. I have a few theories about a few things, and this book is actually giving me so much more excitement than the Atlas 6 was giving me. Also, I do want to mention that something about the names Olivia Blake chose for her characters, specifically most of the male names for her characters. Like, I don't know, Parisa, Tristan, Callum, Gideon, Ezra, Dalton, Atlas. I'm just so... These names, I don't know why, but they tickle something in my brain. They do something for my brain. I don't know why, but I love these names that Olivia Blake chose for her characters. And it really, I don't know, it just adds so much to my reading experience somehow, even though it sounds a little banal almost. But I am enjoying this book right now, and I hope that I can finish it either today, maybe, possibly, but I should probably be able to finish it by tomorrow. And I think I'll update you the next time once I have finished the book. I just finished the Atlas 6. No, the Atlas Paradox. And what? What the fuck was that ending? What was that? I'm so... What was that ending? But also, what was that ending? Like, what? I am screaming inside, and I'm so... What? I literally can't believe that this is how that book ended. And I can't believe I'm saying this right now, but I cannot wait for the third book in this series, the Atlas Complex, I believe, to come out. Like, holy shit. What the fuck? What was that? What was that? This is not my final update. I just cannot with my emotions right now. But it's still the same day from when I last talked to you. I actually read the entire 77 pages that I had still left in this book in one day. But oh my god, I think I need to process this first, and then I'll talk to you again tomorrow with like a final update and a little wrap up and some conclusive thoughts, I think. But like, what the fuck was that ending? Oh my god. It's the next day and I'm here to actually wrap up this vlog and give some final thoughts on the Atlas Paradox. I slept on this for one night and I know I might change my opinion later on, but as of right now, I think I actually really enjoyed this book. I definitely enjoyed the ending quite a lot. It was a bit of a roller coaster, but like, things picked up and then some shit went down and something else happened that I have been waiting for. I haven't exactly been waiting for it, but it was the kind of thing where in scenes in the past I've already been like, ooh, what if this happens at some point? And then it did happen and I was literally screaming inside. It made me so giddy and I loved it. Every second of it, honestly. So I definitely enjoyed that part. I did read some of the reviews on this book on Goodreads, both very good reviews and very bad reviews, and some like 3-star reviews. And I've seen some people say that in this book there was sometimes a lot of talking of the characters, like some characters were holding huge monologues or characters were talking for pages and pages without things actually being said or done. And I think I agree with that now that I'm thinking about it. Like, while I was reading the book, I wasn't really being aware or being conscious of it, but now that I read those reviews, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true. There were a lot of monologues and a lot of talk between the characters about their studies, for example, about their like topics of research, etc., without them actually saying anything or doing anything, if that makes any sense. I hope it does. And sometimes it felt a little bit like the author was trying to make her writing as quotable as possible. Like, there were a lot of lines that sound very quotable, but they don't really say anything in the end. I don't know if this makes any sense, especially if you haven't read either the Atlas Six or the Atlas Paradox, but that's what it did feel like sometimes. And I know I said in that one clip that at some point all the different timelines and the different POVs started to make sense and like come together, but still there were some things that were kind of brought up and there were like huge monologues about it, and it was made a huge thing by one character or multiple characters, and in the end it was just nothing. I don't know, it just didn't really contribute to the plot. It didn't really matter. Maybe I'm just not seeing it, or maybe it will only make sense in the third book. I don't know. But there are so many people out there. I've read quite a number of reviews that said this thing. That's exactly why it made me think about it. And then I started being conscious of it, and I was like, it's kind of true. So it can't really be that only I missed something, right? The book was also a bit slow at times, to be fair, and I think I mentioned it before. Some things were just missing a bit of depth or more showing. Like, for example, this mansion or this manor house or whatever that these characters stayed at for 2 years. I barely have any mental image for what it looks like. And maybe that is because I forgot all the descriptions that were in the first book. But like, were there any descriptions in the first book? Do I just not remember, or weren't there any? Because there were certainly none in this book. And honestly, I think there should have been, even in a sequel, because the author has to consider that some people will spend months doing other stuff or reading other books before picking up the sequel after having read the first book. And I mean, in the beginning of the book, there's literally this persons of interest page that kind of gives you a recap of the characters and who they are and what they can do and stuff like that, which shows that the author must have put some thought into the fact that not all readers will remember every single detail about every single thing that happened in the first book in the series, which is completely normal, right? But then why weren't there any real descriptions of the house that these characters were at 24/7? Literally 24/7. Like, I know a couple of rooms by name, and I know that apparently their bedrooms were all like on the same floor across, like in the same hallway, something like that, but I barely have any idea about where the painted room was, where the dining area was, where the library was, where Atlas Blakely's office was, where the garden was. I mean, obviously the garden must be outside somewhere, but like, is it a front yard? Is it a backyard? Is the garden like surrounding the entire house? That sort of thing. You probably understand my point. Although another thing that I read in some of the reviews was that people thought there were too many characters in this novel and like too many timelines, and some people kind of didn't manage to go along and they kind of lost track of the timelines and the characters. I can't agree with that. I didn't think there were too many characters, and I was fine with keeping track of the timelines, so I can't agree with that, but that's probably an incredibly subjective thing. And then also about the magic, there was a lot of talk about certain things, but sometimes there was little actually doing. I don't know, we've seen a lot of like Tristan figuring out his magic and stuff, but the others kind of fell beneath the rug. I felt like a little bit, at least, with their magic. I would have loved seeing more of their magic like we did in the first book, I think, as far as I remember. Those are my thoughts for now. I think I'm going to give this book a 4-star. It would probably be like a lower 4-star. Also, I think if the things that I just mentioned had been better or weren't there, I would have maybe even rated this book higher. But considering that these things are there or aren't there, I think I'm gonna give it like a low 4-star, maybe 3.75. I don't quite know yet, but I'll figure it out. And I will probably go back and check out my like notes and review of the Atlas 6 again. I don't usually go back and change star ratings for books after the fact, especially not this long afterwards, because I also kind of think that star ratings I gave books sort of represent the kind of person I was at the time of reading that book. They represent the kind of experience I had with the book at the time I was reading it. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I hope it does. Like, there are quite a few books where months after reading them, I think maybe that star rating wasn't exactly what I should have rated that book. But in that moment, I felt like giving that book that specific star rating, and so I did. And as I already said, I feel like that star rating also kind of represents what kind of person I was at the time of reading that book and how the book made me feel in that exact moment. And anyway, I'll figure the star rating out for the Atlas Paradox. It will definitely be better than the rating for the Atlas 6. And I am going to read the third book in this series, the Atlas Complex. I am so incredibly happy that I got this book off of my physical TBR now. It's been there for like over 10 months now, and I also had the audiobook on hold for that long. I kept putting it off, but now I actually read it and listened to it, and the audiobook was so good. So good. Such good work that those narrators did. I'm so happy I listened to the audiobook. That one was so amazing. Even if you don't want to read this book physically or like as an ebook, I can absolutely recommend the audiobook. Now that is all, and I will let you guys go. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Maybe let me know down in the comments if you have read the Atlas 6 and or the Atlas Paradox and what you thought of it. If you haven't, you can tell me anything else you want to tell me. Thank you so much for watching, and then I will see you guys somewhere else on the internet or in my next video. Bye!